as such. Are these things working? Yes. It sounds like they're not. But our apology. Let me take the opportunity to welcome the members of the committee who are here, and also the officials, support staff of the committee. But also let me welcome MEC Peters. Thank you for being here. So I was like, is MEC Mama Bolo coming? And she was like, I'm not sure. I said, you'll represent her. I mean, you'll represent him, so you must be ready to answer on his behalf. But also welcome the officials from municipalities, particularly where we are, the Western District municipalities, officials from the Department of Environment, from Industrial Development Corporation, from SALGA, City Power, ESKOM, and those from our department, the Department of COGTA. And all of those that I might not reach in terms of acknowledgement, you are all acknowledged. The second part that I want to deal with is because we are not in the legislature, we have to declare this area a precinct of the legislature as such. And that has to be done, I was told, in the meeting, in the presence of everyone, in terms of Rule 56(2). Now, I'm going to do that. So I declare the venue of a GP legislature precinct as follows. I don't like this thing of calling myself honorable. Who told me that I'm honorable? Okay, but we'll read what officials want us to do. I, Honorable Mzika Ifani Kumalo, Chairperson of COGTA Portfolio Committee, hereby declare that the mayoral chamber in Western City Municipality as the precinct of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature in terms of Rule 56, subsection 2, and Section 28 of the Powers, Privileges, and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, number 4 of 2004. For the duration of this meeting, this place will be precinct of Gauteng Provincial Legislature, thus the standard rules of the legislature will apply and govern all the engagement of the day. And I think the other part is just to explain what, in detail, what the precinct is. So we have declared this a precinct of the legislature. We will behave as if we're in the legislature as such, or the rules of the legislature will apply in terms of this. With regard to session 1, we will start with apologies. I will ask the committee, Barrio Masiti and we're in the legislature, so we're in charge. Now you'll see it here, don't worry. Jabu, any apology? Any apology?
Thank you, Chair, MEC. Honorable members and colleagues, we've received the following apologies. Member Msimang will be late for the meeting. Member Musai has the doctor's appointment. Member Masuleng is deployed by the party. Member Diacher and Member Makini, they're off sick. Member Dilebo is deployed. And Member Rasli.
MECs. and why we chose to come to the Western as such. Now that the
Hello. Dumela. Le kae? Re kopa le duleng fatshe ba ile ba no santsane hona le ditulo. Sicela nihlale phansi. Okay, le kae? Everything. Before meeting will start, because normally hona le different languages tse lo bane di tlo berekisiwa ka mo. Re na le di language tse latelang ke English, ke Afrikaans, ke Sesotho, ke Sepedi le Setswana, and then hona le Sizulu, isiXhosa, hona le Setsonga le Sevenda. Sorry, loko pa ba ilo bane batla di earphones for ho utlwella di language tse ba batlang ho di utlwella. Ba emise matsoho hone byanong re kgone ho ba fa tsona just before meeting o start, ne? And then re tlo kopa ntho e one. Ge le ka di bona dilo tse re tlo re fang tsona, di pila bjana ho lebeletse o ka re ke phone, o ka re ke radio nyana, le ska nana re maybe ke ntho tsa bana tsa ho jala, ne? Re kopa ge le itswa ka mo or just before meeting o tlo fela le di buse, because if wa etseya a e bereke go hae ho tswa ka monyako e timile completely, and then ho ka ro tswa ka yona mo monyako mola e lo bipa, and then police station e mo haufi again. So please a re batlo re fitlhe hona mo motho a ile robala ko diseleng for something se tshwanang le seo, ra utlwana again. So re kopa ba di batlang emisa matsoho a lona up until re lefile tsona, and then re kgone ho le thusa. Ke a leboha.
May you please? Yeah, very good. Hello.
load shedding, and we also had struggles with making sure that services are rendered. We also needed to make sure that that we sort out the sustainability of services at centers like your healthcare, education, transportation, and also there was an element of crime that actually reared its head because we are experiencing the load shedding. And on the 13th of January, the Premier then convened the special expo, which was in response of the energy crisis. And the Premier then announced that there's going to be a the Provincial Energy Emergency Council, and that also then gave rise to the energy crisis response, which we are planned that we are implementing now. And we had the expo on the 16th of February, and from that then followed a couple of the commitments that were made by province. And you would see at top right, top left is the SOPA elevated projects, the Mirafong solar farm, the smart meter installations, the solar PV and battery storage at GPG facilities. These are projects that we've undertaken, and in the next slide we'll share the progress in terms of how far they've gone. We went on in terms of the Energy Expo, in terms of what pronouncements were made there, and up to I think the 10th of August in 2023, there was then the Energy Indaba, and at the bottom are all the commitments that came, which were tabled as declarations of the Energy Indaba. And it covered removal of illegal connections, debt management, connections of new entrants, protection of critical infrastructure, replacement of transformers, and these were mainly where communities were out of power for the longest of times. This included work done through the energy fund, through the provincial funds and even ESKOM. So this slide just shares all of the resolutions, pronouncements, and commitments that were made. And as you can see, we are converting all of the meters that exist to smart meters, in terms of improving the technology on the existing infrastructure. So here we just then bringing the committee closer to what the summary of the achievements are for the 2023-2024 the program that included the rooftop solar at 24 health facilities, transformers, a total of 60 which were installed and switched on, solar high mass lights, we've delivered 45, smart meters, we delivered 3,351. We're still proceeding with those in the second phase, the open cycle gas turbines at John Way, which was giving us an additional 50 megawatts, commissioned on the 17th of April 2024. Then there was the pump station connection that needed to be excluded from load shedding, so there was a dedicated line that was laid to that so that it can provide water to the Gauteng province and even beyond the Gauteng province. Then there was a one megawatt, the microgrid that was installed at the Amarasta informal settlement in Alexander. From the ESKOM's program side, ESKOM targeted about 522 transformers, and in that, by the end of the financial year, they delivered 485 of the transformers. We will also share what they have done in the current financial year for phase 2. These are just, we're just summarizing here the project and the capacity, and also showing the value proposition for each of these projects and what each of the projects cost. And then we move into this slide. This slide just gives the totality of the requests for the different work packages. So SHM would refer to solar high mass light, what initially the municipalities requested and what we have done. And you would realize that there is a huge difference between what we have delivered and what the municipalities have requested. So if funding is available, the programs will still go on. Look at what, in terms of smart meters, the figures are even much higher. They were asking for 15,000, and we have only been able to deliver 3,351. And the transformers, of course, in terms of priority, as we categorize them, the original request total for municipalities 217, we only delivered about 60 of those, and hence the program is still on. The couple of slides that are following are actually just sharing in terms of the beneficiary communities, different work packages. So transformers, you'd see the areas is the name of the communities there, and the total number of beneficiaries. We've been able to benefit 4,500 households in those municipalities that are listed here. And if we move to smart meters, again, across the municipalities, Rand, Western, Fulani, Lesedi, Mirafo, Mohale City, we've delivered 3,096 households in terms of beneficiation. And the solar HIMA slides, also in the same municipalities, 35,000 households, 600 that have benefited from that program. And then we have these, as I indicated. Then there's a Robertville, where this is the pump station connection that was isolating or exempting that pump station from load shedding with a dedicated supply line. The John Ware is the 50 megawatt turbine that gave additional capacity. And then so yeah, at the end, this is the picture in terms of what has been completed. Of course, here, but I must indicate, Chair, that we have taken steps to make sure that these are factored in all of the processes and procedures that we're having now for phase 2. So we're just raising them in here and pointing them out, but there are specific measures taken against all of these in terms of reporting mechanisms, project business cases, assessment, invoicing, processing of invoices. So we have mechanisms now that are in place, not a statement of intent. So those things are already in place, and in effect, we're managing much better. Moving forward to phase 2, which is the 2024-2025 projects, they also again covered transformers, smart meters, solar IMA slice 26, and this solar IMA slice, I must indicate, they also include about 10 or going to be installed at hostels across the province. Then there's the completion of Devon Street for an additional 50 megawatt also. And then we did about 5 schools. These are schools of specialization, not just any other school, and that's why they've been identified, and the work actually there has been completed. Again, this table just takes us closer to the beneficiary communities for the different work packages. See and this time around we're including Ekurhuleni, City of Tshwane, and then the hostels at the end for the solar HIMA slides. Then the coming slides just give progress in terms of the respective work packages. We're starting with the smart meters. There's a total of 1,500 planned, and the beneficiary municipalities here is only Lesedi and Rand West. So at the moment we have got 202 that have been installed. The 100 installed against 300 those are mainly the protective structures. That's where the smart meters are housed to avoid vandalism and protect them from exposure. On transformers so far, and I must indicate this report is as at last week, we're not including progress for this week. So the 7 transformers already done in Lesedi and Midval. And then moving to solar HIMAs, a total of 26 planned. We have not installed anything yet on the ground. Is at material procurement. So City Power just confirmed that the material has actually been bought. They will be starting with the installation not so long. So this is the ESKOM rollout plan. As you can see at the top, we're indicating the total number that was targeted, which is 522. Is going up to 2025, but they've also requested that because now they've they've actually concluded more than what the initial target was, the planned target for the first phase. They would want to revise their plan. And this slide just gives it rounds up what ESKOM has done to date since the program started. The plan was 522. So all of the figures that are in red is what is currently happening on the ground, or the achievements on the ground. You would see replaced so far, it's 558 against 522, which exceeds the initial plan that ESKOM has. And then the rest of the table will indicate what is in progress, what is under construction, and this is a report of up to the 30th of October. Then there are a couple of areas that were identified as a challenge, and that will follow. That would be in Winterveld and Everton. But this slide specifically talks to the Merafong solar farm, just giving a pointer in terms of where we're standing. So it's a triple P arrangement that is driven by GIFA, and all the developers actually have now signed. There were 2 that were still remaining, and beyond that, in the 12 to 18 months period, they need to conclude their power purchase agreements with potential power off-takers. So this whole program is actually anticipated to deliver by the end of December 2027. As I indicated on this slide, then we're talking the Everton electrification. There are a couple of issues here that we are actually handling. There is also an option that is being offered here at Everton of a microgrid that can serve about 75 households. There are issues relating to land ownership, which the municipality is actually resolving. The total number of households that will benefit from this program is 30,000. Initially, it was estimated at 80, but a recount was done, and we are sitting at 30,000. So the municipality had submitted the application. They need to submit, because now we're talking 30,000 and not 80,000. And of course, some of the privately owned portions that where the microgrid is going to be belongs to private owners, but they've agreed, and they will be signing consent forms and letters to allow the program to then proceed. The next slide just gives the program on Everton, which is confirmed as funded from ESKOM. You'd see in 2024-2025, they're looking at doing 350 houses. That's in Everton, which is phase 1. And the microgrid, of course, is a design stage, delayed by the fact that there are land ownership issues there. In 2025-2026, we're looking at 1,000, which is phase 2, that will be funded from the ESKOM program. And then the Winterveld area, we've just done a site visit there that included ESKOM, DMRE, ourselves, and City of Tshwane. And the affected areas would be Extension 3, Extension 4, and Extension 5. And the issues there relate to the fact that in Extension 3 and 4 and 5, these are land portions that the city actually expropriated properly, and they undertook the process for township establishment. There are people occupying there. There are houses that have been built. There are issues in terms of illegal occupation and all that that the city is actually doing. So we're working with human settlements to deal with that. In Ward 24, which is the old Winterveld Agricultural Holdings part, which is where there is the illegal network. The dwellers there are saying they would appreciate if they could be moved to the city as the supplier of the energy there, because that area, all of it is supplying power from ESKOM, but ESKOM is not benefiting anything, because that network actually belongs to some hooligans that have taken over there without ESKOM's involvement. So we're working on that with the municipality. We're recounting. We would go the same process as we did for Everton to resolve the problems in Winterveld. This slide just talks about the token identification process that ESKOM is now talking about a lot on the media for consumers to actually begin to move their meters to the new system, so that after the 24th of November, they could still be able to buy electricity and load it onto their meters. And we must indicate here that this is also led by National Treasury, SALGA, MISA, and COGTA in terms of driving the whole process. This slide just gives the progress in terms of where we're sitting with all of the municipalities. You'd see City of Tshwane is about just above 60%, Ekurhuleni in the high 70s, including the SEDI. Merafong is sitting at about 38%, and we've also had engagement with them to try and find out how do we support, and they've indicated that they needed to sort of replace some of the vandalized meters. Only then can faster. But there's also some relief in that the entities now are allowed to actually even upgrade the meters beyond the date of the 24th. So they will still be able to dispense, but those meters definitely would need to be converted. This portion of the presentation talks to the identified need for the province to add about 5,000 megawatts, and is called the 5,000 megawatts GPG journey. And this slide shows the additional capacity required by each municipality, which comes up to about 5,500. And here we're showing in terms of what energy levers have the potential to contribute to the 5,000 megawatts, and we're looking at rooftop PV solar farms, and we're looking at energy storage, we're looking at waste to energy, we're looking at gas, and of course we're not discounting coal-based power, because we unfortunately depend on it, and there's no ways that it's going to be out of the picture in the coming 10 or 15 years. So those are the levers where the additional power would come from, and here we're just showing what the contribution over the timelines, what the contribution of each municipal area has towards the 5,000. You see at the bottom left we have the legend, which shows green is between 24 to 25. That's actually immediate. That's the capacity that can be generated in that time frame. 2025, 2027, it's short term, and medium term is 2027, 2030. You'd see that the cities, the city of Tshwane and city of Joburg and city of Ekurhuleni are actually the biggest contributors, and Merafong with the Merafong solar farm is actually following them. Here we're just showing the contribution per term in terms of at what point are we going to be peaking. So in 2024, 2025, we are likely to get only 300 megawatts, and then we move to 1,056 in the medium term with 2020, which is 2025, 2027. I mean, the short term, and then the medium, we will get up to total figures there. So what we have done here, we've already identified some of the IPPs that are in the province, and these are registered with NERSA and ready to actually dispatch. So, and the projects are categorized in terms of type A, type B, and type C, and we also indicate. So there's a total of 28 of them, and we're also showing the capacity that each of these projects have, and we have already initiated process to begin to talk to these private developers in terms of finding out if they would be willing to sell any of their excess, or at any given moment, even if it's excess, when they are ready to release, are they willing to then trade with government. So we have, this is just a stakeholder mapping slide, but here we are showing who we engaging that will enable us to get to some kind of agreements or power purchase agreements between municipalities and the existing installations, so that they can benefit from it. We've already met with NERSA, and they're saying we headed in the right direction, but there is still a long way, because it's more of us.
The province, Ma'am Faith, You are the one who brought this thing a township economy. The township economy that speaks to the people of treasury. When you bring programs, you must start from the province, a location that can be provided as services in these programs. But for today, we'll give you only for today a program with our service providers win. But the next time when you come here, don't bring those people, otherwise it's over the market. Siyanicela.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I then have MEC? Are you okay with no additions? Okay. Can I then have members who wants to raise question? Tatengobeni? I'll come with mine thereafter.
No, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation. Yeah, look, I do not have a lot of questions. In fact, not many. I've got an interest in Everton, having been approached by a community there. I think it's Ward 8. I'm not sure whether the intervention that is currently underway there include that particular ward. They've been without power for many years. After their transformer was burned down and so forth. I just want to get an understanding maybe from the department if that's also one of the areas that they are looking at. But overall, I think, Chair, we really note this presentation and the progress that have been made so far, and obviously with the fact that load shedding has sort of come to an end. It gives the department ample opportunity to really do the work in making sure that our energy mix in the province, it's ready for any eventualities. But of course, we still have challenges of many areas still experiencing load reductions and so forth. So the metering program will really help in terms of getting us out of the situation of load reductions. But otherwise, Chair, I think I noted the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll raise my issue so that when you respond on all of them, MEC. That will be fine. I think for me, the first one would be on the Mirafong solar power project that a reference has been made to. And my simple I understand all the technical processes that goes with it. But my simple question is, if I go in that place, what would I see there? That's one. Two, with regard to Everton, right? And as I listen carefully, firstly is that the intervention is going to be done in phases. The second part of it is that it would appear that that would take 3 years or more. In other words, for a total intervention to be made, the people there generally will have to wait for those years. And if you go there, you are right, in Tatengobeni, if you go there, those people are saying, we need electricity now. We waited for far too long. I'm not sure whether, is there any other thing that can be done except what we've been told as such. And linked to that is whether those communities, are they being engaged in terms of this intervention, and how this intervention is going to be rolled out. So in a sense, I think from my side, the concern is that are we saying to those people, you've got to wait for another 3 years before this intervention is made. I haven't heard anything around informal settlement. Maybe it's my mistake. If I can be clarified there, I know, or we know for a fact that the Premier once announced an intervention on certain informal settlement within the province as such. But listening to your presentation, I've not captured anything there. What's the situation? On the STS technologies, we know that I think the deadline would have been end of this month or something like that, or in October. But the deadline is nearing. And if you look at your presentation, the municipalities that are still in amber, maybe there's a bit of a progress there. They might be in green soon, but there's a municipality there called Merafon that is totally in red. And that's a source of worry. Because my part of my knowledge is that there isn't a precise plan from ESKOM unless they want to announce that late in terms of the extension post the the deadline itself. On the part of my concern is, if you look at the financial year, we're nearing the end of the financial year, and yet we still are going to be introducing phase 2 now. Would we be able to, or would the department be able to achieve all of those good plans that are there in phase 2 within the period that is left? Basically, that's the question. Because my concern is it would appear that we're moving at a small pace, and that is going to have a negative impact on the overall plan of when to complete all of this project that we want to complete. The last one would be around the issue of Winterfeld. It would appear there's plans and plans, but planning, we're still in the planning stage. When would we see something tangible in those particular communities insofar as building of the infrastructure of electricity is concerned? Because there you're almost like starting afresh in a sense. When are we going to be? When are we going to see that? Overall, I think I'll take the same view from Member Ngubeni of noting the report, and just to say that the committee would engage itself further, and there's going to be a close monitoring of commitments that the department is making, and that in exercising our oversight role, we will be in a position to can pick up certain specific issues that would from time to time MEC raise with your council and the department. Thank you.
Just start with the HOD and the team, and then I'll close it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and MEC. Chair, I think some of the questions is some of the discussions that took place in the Energy Council. The first point is that we are aware that we don't want Everton to wait any longer, but the electrification network in there has been completely dismantled, if you can say, dismantled, stolen, vandalized, so you need to redo it. Some of the plans was also to look at how we can facilitate a different solution to give them electricity, but some of those also proved to be very costly. But that includes the entire Everton area. Chair, the work on the Merafong solar farm is all the statutory work has been done, but there's no work on the ground as yet. So currently the agreements has been signed, and the implementation of those agreement work or background work needs to take place over the next 8 to 12 months before you can literally see some work that needs to be done. There was a very specific directive from the Premier that once we are done with all the preliminary work on Everton, we need to engage with the community. And the Office of the Premier was given that task, working with COGTA. So we have reported in the last energy meeting that we would be ready now to table a report and share with Premier so that Premier can then go into the communities. Chair, the same applies to the informal settlement that was raised by Premier, and that was the Makausi informal settlement in Germiston. The solution, we're also looking at the microgrid solution there, but we need to decide how are we going to do it. Of course, the energy response plan was to look at the emergencies, but now that we do not have load shedding, we do not say that there is no emergency. The energy crisis still remains massive, and all role players need to get involved. And Chair, I can safely say with phase 2, similarly with phase 1, we have started along the same lines. And with all the statutory work that's been underway, I know we have incurred limited cost on the current budget, but as we speak, there is some significant cost coming through because materials on site has been procured, work is underway when it comes to installation. So we are confident we're going to complete the work before the end of the financial year, Chair. And as we were preparing for our budget adjustment, we have not surrendered any funds for the energy project because we know that work will be completed. Chair, in terms of the technologies, and the team can explain further, Merafong is red and Fuleni is also a risk, but SALGA has been on board, National has been on board to assist some of the poor performing municipalities, and some communication has been shared with the municipalities, and we have also asked that ward committees do some work in the wards, making sure that the teams can get access to the households so that we can do the meter reset and so on. But that has been fairly slow. Tshwane, that started the latest, has picked up some significant speed, and so is the others. But those are some of the areas that we are working on. But Chair, let me allow Patrick, as the head of infrastructure, just to add some of the other technical detail in terms of the report, and we can then hand back to MEC.
Thanks, HOD, and thanks. Yeah, I'll just probably focus on the issues that I think HOD you've covered most of the matters that came up. In terms of the TID rollover, unfortunately, Merafong, because of the change of leadership, there's been some delays, and they are trying to pick up now. But then they've got the challenge with regards to the fact that some of the meters that they wanted to convert, they discover they've been vandalized, and you then can't do it. But the reprieve that's there is that the entities are now offered an opportunity to proceed with issuing tokens and allowing the conversion to take place from their side. So at the cutoff date of the 24th of November, the utilities, which means the municipalities, the authorities, will still be able to issue the tokens, and they will then allow the consumers to actually load and the electricity board and convert the meters to the new technology. And in terms of Ward 8, I know that in the work that we are doing, we have areas of Ward 44, Ward 43, and I know that there are some wards that in any case are included in the ESKOM program. That's where already there is ESKOM replacing the transformers where the network exists. One just needs to verify. I've been trying to check because I know we had a list of those wards, but we can always revert back. But I'm sure that the ones that are not covered in this area where the network is almost completely vandalized, as HOD is saying, they are in the program currently underway by ESKOM. And member will just make sure that we revert with confirmation of that. But as far as I know, we were covering all of the areas. And then, of course, new technology, but to a limited extent, only benefiting about 75 households for now, and being delayed merely by the fact that there's a land ownership dispute. But the municipality is actually resolving that. They've actually issued a permission to occupy before the servitude can be registered. The landowners of the privately owned land have also signed the consent letters. So for that microgrid, things can start to happen. I think ESKOM planned for execution now in November, and it's just being delayed by the fact that there are these land ownership issues which we believe will be resolved very soon. Yeah, I think I've covered everything else that remains. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, MEC.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thanks, Mr. Mwapen HOD. I think the overarching point just to make is that the interventions that we have introduced in the energy space to support work in municipalities, and of course to strengthen the overall capacity to respond to whatever challenges that could be there, partnering with City Power. I thought they would have been invited, because they would have given even a much more detailed response on a number of areas to support the presentation. But I think that has helped, and that is continuing to help. Many communities do not have electricity, perhaps because of particularly transformers, even in this period when load shedding has been managed. And I think that's one of the major positive impacts of this program, and the work that we're doing to support municipalities. But I must agree with the points both of you have made about making sure that in case there was to be a challenge, we could deal with it. We are very much pleased with the investments we have made on the gas turbines, the turbines with City Power that are ready in case there were to be any difficulty. That's very important. I just want to also welcome the fact that I'm aware that the Rand West local municipality, I think, is engaging with City Power to assist them lift up their capacity. For sure, when the West Rand talks to its presentation, it can confirm this point, but that's the information I have. We have advised Merafung to also seek support from City Power, and I'm told at this point they could be looking at taking it to council for approval to solicit support to do a thorough check and baseline their electricity supply capacity, and to check their technologies and assist the municipality. And I think if the two municipalities were to conclude processes with City Power, I'm quite sure that HOD and Mr. Mwepe could seriously look into that and see how, the province could do its best. The last issue I just want to raise, maybe before my last point, is just to assure everybody who's here that the issues of electricity and access and consistent supply to communities, to businesses, to all the critical users, and of course, and the people broadly. It's a matter that we remain seized with, we remain occupied with, and we will ensure that our municipalities are able to deliver electricity to the people in a very consistent and efficient way. So that's just an emphasis I wanted to make.
Required as and when we present ourselves to the portfolio committee. I'm now just quickly going to reflect on the areas where stakeholders is that in all these areas where we have not achieved, the department have since put a plan. That's why you will see there's a column. So if we have not achieved on a specific area, we'll put in a plan to see what are we going to do to ensure that in the next financial year, which is this financial year, that we're able to achieve these targets. So these are the few areas where we could not achieve, and we have since put a plan to ensure that we achieve. The areas that relates to procurement, but in particular procurement that relates to persons with disability. As for areas of women and youth, those we have been able to achieve. And the number of older persons accessing community-based support services, again, we have put in a plan because we have challenges of some of the community services that were not registered. We have since put a plan to address that particular aspect. We also have challenges in relation to services for persons with disabilities as well as protective workshop, which was 8. And then for foster care, also the performance was 78%, but I've just got an indication when during the introductory remarks to say our colleagues from SALGA are here. The challenge that we have had mainly on this issue, it was clean out to ensure that it's a correct reflection of those that require foster care with SALGA. So that work has since been finalized, and we should be able to attain 100% in this financial year, as we're now rolling out the third quarter of the financial year. Then the other indicator, number of victims of GBV and crime who access sheltering services, the performance was 92%. There were fewer beneficiaries that required services, as that is based on demand. But most importantly, Honorable Chairperson, is that those that require services, the department is able to ensure that they are provided with the services. Then the important work in terms of the substance abuse, that was achieved at 88%. Those that we could not achieve in the main had to do with the additional facilities that we require as the department with the support of DID, which we are rolling out those particular infrastructure, including the Dr. F&F. And then in terms of skills development, which is the important work in terms of capacitating young persons to ensure that their skills, they are able to get jobs, that was achieved at 92%. And on the remaining 8%, we have been able to put a plan to ensure that we achieve in this financial year. MEC also indicated, Honorable Chairperson, in terms of the important work that we do in terms of food security, both in terms of the food parcels and daily meals, that we could not achieve. We only attained 55%. We have since put in place to ensure that in this financial year, we are able to achieve the target. Again, the issue of the school uniform, I've already reflected that. The performance was at 41%. We have since put mitigation plans to ensure that we attain that performance in this financial year, including the dignity pack. As I move towards conclusion in terms of the performance of the department on non-financial, just also to indicate, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members and MEC, that we have been able to capacitate 1,246 NPOs in the financial year under review against the target of 1,200. So we have been able to surpass that particular target. So with that, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, Honorable MEC, I will just request to pause here with your permission to allow CFO to reflect on the status of finances for the year under review.
Thank you. CFO, you can come in. Maybe before you continue, members and our beneficiaries seated here, I hope you are following us and you can see what we have brought to you so that you can see how the budget was used and they requested and how much money they have used. CFO, you can continue.
Thank you very much. A very good morning, Honourable members, Honourable Chairperson, to the councillors, and then good morning to the community as well. Just to quickly take us through then the financial performance of the last financial year. The department overall spent just over 5 billion and 90 budget. Per the various programs, Program 1 was at 100%, Program 2 at 95%, Program 3 93%, Program 4 dealing with restorative services at 79%, and then 80% with regards to development and research. If we look at the economic classification of the breakdown of the spend, with regards to compensation of employees, we were at 98%. For our goods and services spent, we spent 82% of the budget. Non-profit institutions, 89% of the budget was spent. Buildings and other fixed structures, we spent 55%. And then 100% spent on machinery, equipment, software and theft and losses. Overall spend there 90%. Just looking quickly at the reasons then for the underspending. Firstly, for compensation of employees was due to the delay in the recruitment process for youth brigades, contract workers, and the Nasi Hispani vacant post filling. Goods and services, the underspending mainly linked to the school uniform project, 66 million, food parcels 31 million, and then dignity packs at 90 million. Looking at our non-profit institutions, services at 180 million. Buildings and other fixed structures, there was 70 million for additional funds that was received during the financial year in the adjustment budget for the purchase of a new building that couldn't be finalized before the end of the financial year, and those funds were returned to Provincial Treasury. And then for machinery and payment of financial assets, we spent 100%, so those were on track. Looking at our EPWP conditional grant allocation of 20 million, the department was able to spend 100% of this allocation in the financial year. And then looking at the next slides is just a detailed breakdown of our payment of our suppliers within 15 and 30 days to ensure that after suppliers have delivered services that we pay them quickly and promptly. If we look at the last slide with regards to the overall performance, in essence we paid 99% of our invoices within 30 days. There was only 48 invoices out of our 16,000 invoices that was outside of 30 days. And then with our 15-day payments, we were at 94.53% of paying suppliers within 15 days. Honourable Chairperson, honourable members, we would then just like the Portfolio Committee to note the report on the 23-24 financial year as presented by the department. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. MEC, you can come.
We shall await the comments and questions. Thank you.
Now, we have received the presentation. I'm expecting you to engage this presentation. I'm going to start on my left. It might be your right. I'm not going to have a second round. Once I've noted you, you come straight here. Can I see the hands this side? Okay, Pastor, you are number 1. Ntateka di Brele, you are number 2. Emisha matso, otherwise kitlo mesa. You see? Now, yeah. Pastor, you are number 1. The lady, come here. The lady next to you, come. Then Ntateka moko bonika KPC. Kantu meruni, yes, come. Follow. And then Ntatewa di Brele, come. Ausubo boy Michel to Ulisa fast. Ulisa fast, Ulisa Udimo, Ulisa fast. Come. Okay. Ntateko Murauki Obona, you can come. Okay, I'm now here. Abuti, you will follow. Sama utwara queue, and then Ntate Utlelwena. You are my, the man with dreadlocks is the number last. Here is the queue. Okay, you are number last. Evan. Okay, you are number last. I don't want the, I'll see. Now, here's my rules. You are going to speak for 3 minutes. So go straight to your points. Wait. Our John is this one today. Okay. John, sit there. The John with the black cap. You see? Very soon you will be holding a pen and a paper to take out your name, your surname, and additional points which you couldn't make within 3 minutes. So once I say go to John, you politely hand over the mic to the next speaker and go to John. Then leave all those points there. So we are done now this side. So prepare yourself that side. But this is how I do it, because I know once they hear you talk about food parcel, they think of raising hands. I'm now this side. You are number one in Tategaski. You are number one. Parmesan, yeah. You are number one. MLL, so that number 2, yes. How feel you number 3? Tatoke Pisikom round number 4, Haufiluena number 5, and then a memo Haufi Kiawona number 6, Haufiluena number 7, Moare 8, 9, Tong, Letry Makamulena. What about that? Let's check your point. Okay. Yeah. All right, le felelate. Let's get this type of the equipment again.
Okay, sure.
Let's get this type of the equipment, please. Bapake handle John, Bapake handle Mo John. Don't come Kesau pointer, because I know people that I've pointed. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mruti? Silently. You see, this team was not making noise. This team Yakamo is making noise. Silently, we know your number. 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
My question is more financial. To the finance fellow, my question is about underspending. It is noted in your report that over 500 million has been returned to Treasury. I would say that I am from Pomolong. Pomolong Lanchion Club has not been funded for the last financial period and is under the threat of being closed down. We have a facility and infrastructure MEC that you have to note of the old people here in Tembisa, which is almost going to be closed down because it was not funded. At Matelo Gufa, we also have a soup kitchen, Chair, that you need to note. It also, they themselves, they are struggling with being funded. So, Chair, we just are disappointed with lack of capacity when there is a budget allocated to the department, and yet the department has almost 500 million while we have so much struggles in social welfare. This should be an indictment on you, Chair, to oversight this particular the department. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for sticking to the rules. Next.
Dumelang. Lina laka ke nna Veronica Mphatlele ke tswa ke le Mamelodi. Ke kgopela go bolella bana ba leng addicted ka drugs. re kwa botlhoko batswadi because of bana ba rena ba felela ko di-drugs. Ne ke kgopela leadership nke dule fase e be concern ka taba ya di-drugs because of bana ba rena a ba sa ne ditšhika tša madi ba di tlhaba mo pele ba di tlhaba matswele banyana ba drugs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
My name is Welcome Makiwane from Delmo, informal settlement in Ward 21. The only thing, I don't know if I have to raise it, I said I must put it on here. You will see how to analyze it. Go Ward 21, the mining belt. Since the township that was declared to be developed, up to today, there is nothing happening. I wanted to raise that to you so you can put to the relevant portfolio committee to take a note about it. And then secondly, which is mining belt or Delmo, there is no public school. We depend on scholar transport. We can get or have their education because only one school around us is a private school. Parents can't afford the private school.
Ngiyabonga ngiyezwa ukukhulunywa ngebudget. Mina ngizokhulumela abantu basemkhukhweni. Abantu basemkhukhweni indawo le wabo it's not relevant. So and emkhukhweni economy iningi ubuka ngathi legislature sicela ukuthi ibabhekelele ngoba lapha emkhukhweni ilento iningi kakhulu lapha. So siyacela nokuthi futhi imani lento ikhona lapha emkhukhweni siyacela ukuthi nisibhekelele ngoba bonyawo baningi rape maningi nje lapha. Siyacela ukuthi uma abantu bafuna ukuvula ibusiness nibabhekelele ngoba lapha emkhukhweni economy iningi kodwa ubonakala ngathi ababhekiwe abantu basemkhukhweni. Thank you very much. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you. Next.
Okay. Sanibonani. Yebo. Ulunga uCDW in Ward 21. Ndicela uma ngathola incazelo maybe la kancane payments ye social development notile ukuthi there has been support that were given to different entities like NPOs but settlements. Why am I saying that? Because the whole ward 21, it's dominated by informal settlement and they are unable to comply because of the bylaws and which also disadvantages our people from starting their own legal entities, the development as zama ukuncedisana nohulumende ukulwa nako konke lokhu okwenzeke emiphakathini yethu. Ngicela futhi ukwazi la MMC ukuthi kule 5 billion la ukuthi from also within the poorest of them all, especially from our communities, pick and say these are the people sihleli phaya ekhlalen nabantwana abangakhona ukuthi mabancedakale. They have to go to kuma affluent areas before they can get assistance. Anything that has to happen, people are previously disadvantaged. That is one very important thorny issue that the community has been crying about, even with the issue of GBV. Ama green doors, but when we go and knock in the door of DSD, they will tell you that you cannot do anything because you are in an informal settlement. We request Chairperson, those informal settlement for the past almost 30 years abahleli kuwo kuyacaqa ukuthi impi asikhona ukuyilwa yokulwa nemikhukhu asenzeni something ukuze nabo belong to this budget that today they are sitting here, but witness abanye abantu besidla
Now go to
kuphileka
John.
except for the people
Now
in
go
the
to
informal
John.
settlement. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I greet you all. My name is Thuso Tlhapane from Leweng section in Tembisa. My question is on soup kitchen because the previous speaker just touched on it. My question is this. I just want to know that how many soup kitchens are there in Tembisa and where are they situated and who qualifies for it? That's my question, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next one.
Where we can treat our organic matter, your food waste and so on, your wastewater treatment plants, and generate either gas or electricity out of this. If all our waste treatment plants had biogas digesters, they'll be able to power their own facilities and even sell the extra gas. So this is something that is another low-hanging fruit, but particularly for our wastewater treatment plants and our food markets and so on. And incineration, the mass ban, the one that the metros are looking at, this is where you basically chuck all the waste into the incinerator and burn it and generate electricity. This is the one that the metros are currently looking at, and it's quite expensive. If you look at the 100,000 ton per annum facility, is already at about 2 billion. So it's highly, it requires high investment. But the good thing about this one is it does not necessarily require waste separation at source. It can take any waste that is put into the facility. Then there are more highly sophisticated technologies like such as your gasification, your pyrolysis. These ones are viable. What is nice about them is that they are modular. So if you want to treat a certain type of waste, for example, waste tires, you use this type of technology. And we have quite a number of these projects, particularly pyrolysis plants for treating waste tires in the province. This helps us with our tire problem, and it's also a very good source of diesel. So these tire pyrolysis projects are very, very successful. The people that run these plants get three products. It's your oil, diesel. You also get metal, and you generate electricity. So these are a very nice project and modular, that they can be recommended. And plasma gasification is another one that is quite complex. The problem is that this one is not very, very proven, and it requires very high skilled labor. And then mechanical heat treatment, this one is normally used for clinical waste. In terms of autoclave, this would be good for hospitals in terms of treating your healthcare risk waste. Then one of the interventions that we are working on as the department in this space is we have started a process of
development providers. We have identified a certain land.
Now go to John and finalize all that. Go to John.
Ngiyabonga.
Sanbona, Kamala Mubonga Nkosi. I hope I'm not going to go to John because I'm going to be short. Actually, I've got two issues. Both issues actually relate to the elderly. It's the SASA office at Rabasutu and also the old age home. The MEC said, Banagagela Bandabadal. I think not in Tembisa, maybe somewhere else. Maybe MEC, you have to tell us. Because I also, Chairperson, ask you when you live here, just go down the road to the SASA office. I took photos there. The elderly are sitting outside. What happens if it rains? And also, in the sun, they stay there, but we're saying we are actually looking after our elderly. And MEC, I think all of us here, I think all of us here will be old one day, but we need to actually to make sure that we take care of our senior citizens. And then coming to the old age home, it was closed in July 2019, and since then, the center is not opened. Last week, actually, the department came to present a status update of that center, and then they didn't give us actually an exact date when is it going to be open. The only thing that they told us is the renaming of
to ensure that the project succeeds. And it actually needs a lot of buy-in from principals, because we've seen that most of the projects have municipalities, and project management is key. Smaller projects, for example, smaller municipalities, to look at the smaller modular projects rather than big mass burn. And affordability, as long as our landfills remain cheap, these projects will not be viable. We have already said landfill gas is the most low-hanging fruit, and yes, we just need to get our ducks in a row to ensure that this.
Thank you very much, Member Ngowin.
No, thanks, Chair. It's a very technical presentation, that one, a study on its own in terms of waste to energy. But I've noted, Chair, that the projects are really far in between across the province. I think that should be a red flag for all of us, because we don't want to wait until there's a crisis that we now start running around to try and deal with that crisis. But I think the presentation demonstrates that there's challenges that that makes it difficult for these projects to eventually find their way into municipalities. Affordability, regulatory frameworks, the fact that IPPs are still taking so long and difficult for officials to go around them and get them to the end. It's something that really, as government, of various levels, needs to and find ways of making it possible for private sector and government to work together in this particular field. Because if we take from what has been presented, those technologies are very expensive, and municipalities do not have resources to be able to get this. But there's a need for us to get this technology. So how do we go around it? If we recognize that there's affordability issues, but for us to overcome affordability issues, we need a regulatory framework that can make things easier. And unfortunately, the colleagues in this presentation didn't really provide. I see the last slide talks about recommendations, and unfortunately, I don't have this presentation to go back and look at exactly those recommendations and whether they go a long way in giving us answers to these problems. So we note this, but we really need to find solutions for this issue of affordability, and how do we deal with this regulatory frameworks that stifle some of the comments that I've noted. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. No, I want you to comment. After me, then it will be the MEC and the department. Okay, thank you. MEC Mamapolo.
No, I think my comment, Chair, is just to appreciate the report. Very good work been done, and and I think we should acknowledge it. I think what might be important is we didn't have a view of this work, MEC, in the different municipalities, and we do have the provincial energy IGR meeting. I think we should bring this work, HOD and Mr. Ngwepe, the Premier convenes and chairs the energy meeting. And I think we'll have to integrate this work into that so that we can have a full view of all the energy initiatives in the province. This is excellent, and I think we need to support it. But also as COGTA, because it's getting into the municipal space, we need to just make sure that we have a view of it. But this is excellent, and I like the concept of what's been done in Tshwane, bringing on board Ikuruleni, some mega project there. That looks like that's going to be best practice, and maybe that project we must look at it. And Honorable Ngobeni, what I can just assure you of is that the National Treasury is restructuring and looking at this whole issue of triple P's, compliance, many requirements, the time it takes, and there's an intention to make it easier, simple, quicker, and faster. And I think the process of reviewing that it's ongoing, because there's a recognition that triple P's, the way we're running them, it's not giving us the benefits that we need. But this is an excellent presentation, and I like the oversight that the department is doing on these projects. But let's bring them into the visibility of the entire provincial energy work that we're doing. But this is great, quite exciting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC. Unfortunately, myself and the committee, we play an oversight role, MEC. So whatever I'm going to say, don't take it as an attack. So, because my conclusion was equivalent, if you understand. I'll tell you now. So I think, and my issue is that I think there's lack of focus on the subject at the end. Let's just be honest. Because I even look at these projects that reference has been made of that are in municipalities. You can see it's just initiative, it ends there. Except in Johannesburg, where you can have a sense that there's work that has been done on one project. The second observation is that there's lack of province-wide strategy, right? Because the report just tells us about initiatives that comes from municipalities and so on. So that's why I'm saying my conclusion is that we're not serious insofar as this subject is concerned. And I'm not talking to you, MEC. I'm saying government generally is not serious. It's not serious because our townships are dirty. We not, because if we come up with initiatives that have been mentioned in the report, what you're going to be creating is a situation where people compete to collect garbages or whatever, waste within communities. But because there's no initiative on the ground, it results on our township being in the state that they are in. So the entire province is dirty in a sense. So we've got to be focused, we've got to be serious insofar as dealing with these particular issues are concerned, so that we bring the entire community on board, and we also, resulting from that, create jobs, but also ensure that the skills that is being provided to. If you go to, for instance, China, you will see how advanced they are insofar as this matter is concerned. And we're wasting time. So MEC Mamabolo, almost like you read my mind, because when I look at it, I said, I think we need an approach that's similar with that of energy. Because if you look at energy, it was the same situation. Municipalities were having their own initiative and so on. There was no province-wide thing and so on. And so we were able to pull that together. Pulling that together helps a lot. And I think MEC Mamabolo spoke to it. The first thing that it will show us the state of affairs on the ground insofar as municipalities are concerned. The second part of it, it will help us insofar as what skills do we necessarily require in the province in order for us to can be able to lead this kind of a project. But the third thing is that it will help all of us to put together our resources and be able to intervene, because without resources, I think the presenter made it clear that amongst others, these technologies are expensive and all, but if we put together our resources, we might come up with something that can help us. And the last thing from my point of view is that it will help us to come up with that province-wide strategy on this subject, because that's what we're lacking. But let me conclude by saying a good start, of course, even though I made the comments I've made, and we will play our oversight and monitoring role. And that is why we wanted to have this as part of the FIS, because we want all of us to begin to take these things, to be focused and begin to take these things serious. MEC, your comments? Or you want officials to can comment, and then can you have your last comment in any manner you want to deal with it?
Okay,
HOD first, the Chief Director, and the MEC will close.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson, and let me acknowledge the MECs present here, together with all the other honorable members and members from SALGA, IDC, and all government officials, provincial and local government present. Let's welcome the comments. I think that just in terms of responding to the comments, we welcome the comment made by MEC Mamabolo to integrate all the stuff in the Gauteng Energy Council, so that we ensure that there's a holistic approach on this particular aspect. And then with respect to the issue around the provincial strategy, I think it's going to be important that if it is that we want to have a provincial strategy, that we actually ensure that all municipalities are on board. Because remember, from a province's side, we are providing support. We are missing from the table. You know, it's difficult to ensure your provincial strategy is going to be implemented. So I think that it's going to be, in addressing the issue around the provincial strategy, it will be important that we get all the other municipalities actually on board. And then it's our role as provincial government is to mobilize resources, which is what we would be doing to ensure that some of these financial blockages that have been identified and that Honorable Member Ngobeni has referred to, and which was also in the last slide, you know, those are issues that we would actually be able to address. But I think that it's important to highlight the fact that this presentation only deals with one aspect of the environment, which is around helping to generate clean energy. All right. This presentation has not looked at, Honorable Chairperson, what you are referring to, that the townships, you know, are actually dirty. For you to get an understanding as to what the department is doing in that regard, we would need to do a slightly different presentation which will look at all the interventions that we are doing together with the municipalities to try and address, the issue of environmental cleanliness in our townships. And maybe we would need to have a slightly separate, presentation, on that, because that presentation would need to talk to the programs that we've put in place around what we are calling the war on waste as a department, the buyback centers. How do we create, circular waste economies? How do we ensure that communities, when they clean up their communities, they actually, jobs are being generated and they do actually derive an income, from that. All those things, are not in this presentation, and a separate presentation will give you a full perspective as to how we are doing. And then we can then indicate as to whether it is sufficient or it is not sufficient, what are the gaps, and how, we need to move forward. But we do note the comments that have been made, and we will address the issue around the provincial strategy. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Not sure, Chief Director.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, MECs, honorable members, HODs, and colleagues. I'll address the other elements. I think the HOD has addressed some of the high-level issues. So there was the question around affordability. So there's two things I think we need to raise with regard to affordability. Is the affordability of the project, which is your capital outlay and development and operational cost of the intervention or the project. Okay. However, there's another affordability that we're not addressing in Gauteng in particular. We did a study specifically responding to the project that Mepalisa was talking about, the integrated waste management strategy. We actually, Honorable Chairperson, did a study tour to KwaZulu-Natal as well as Western Cape, and just looked at what does it cost to dispose of waste. So we know it's a least a preferred option, but what does it cost? In Gauteng, she mentioned it, on average, a ton is around about 240 in Gauteng. In Western Cape, it's 540. In KZN, I think it's in the top 400, maybe 460, 480. Now, this is misunderstood as to be saying that municipalities must charge more from households to collect waste. No, that's not what we say. The rate that the municipality charges per household is what it is. Where is missing? The missing gap is on business. The presenter says most of these waste management facilities cost around about 600 rands per ton to operate. But we are running landfills at 240 per ton. So where do you think business will, what will business do with their waste? It's cheaper to dispose. Take your waste to a disposal facility, and once you dispose it there, MEC, it becomes government problem. Whether it's causing air pollution, it's causing contaminating water, I've paid my 240, it's not my problem, government must deal with it. So what these two provinces have done is to actually price landfilling properly and not make it cheaper, because if you make it cheaper, you are incentivizing a certain behavior. And the majority of this waste does come from business. So what we're saying is, and we've worked with the municipality on an intervention, Chairperson, is called cost reflective tariffs. We've developed a template. However, as she was saying, and MEC was saying, and HUD was saying, the mandate rests with the local authorities. So the province cannot set a tariff for landfilling in Rand West, as an example. It is for the Rand West Council to have a look at its own tariffs. What are we charging for disposing? And through a bylaw revision, charge the appropriate amount. Because if you make it cheaper to landfill, then all these other technologies will remain a textbook, and they will just not be affordable because you are not incentivizing a behavioral change that says let's move away from landfills. I think the other one, Honorable MEC Mabubulo spoke about the triple P, but it's also a factor that most of the municipalities, including the metros, they're not managing even with landfilling. They are struggling just dealing with landfilling for the reasons that I indicated, but also that these technologies will definitely require a private sector infusion of investment. So we do have to prepare the projects, support the municipalities as we've done with it. We are doing with the 3 metros, with the feasibility. And then what we then hoping to do, Chair, is to switch them around from waste to climate. And we then present these projects as climate change projects in terms of the various international climate finance mechanisms that are out there, including Global Climate Fund and. So you now switch the project from just being a waste service project to a climate project, because landfilling, like we saw in the CBD, that incident in the CBD where there was a explosion in the street, it was a methane gas, and the methane gas is plenty in the landfills. So you have to turn this into energy, and we can then support everyone on that, on the waste to energy.
As you conclude.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe let me conclude there. On the regulatory part, there was a issue of a regulatory gap. Yes, there is. It's being addressed. The MEC will introduce a Gauteng waste separation regulations that will mandate everyone, business, civil society, to separate waste, because part of the problem is that we throw everything in the dustbin. Waste that could be diverted into waste to energy facilities is in the dustbin, in a landfill, and now must be recovered from a landfill, and it's got no caloric value. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. You've got a lot in your hands. MEC, come in.
Not to repeat many of the recommendations and comments from the HOD and the Chief Director, I think our biggest challenge is obviously cost and budget as well, MEC Mamabolo, as you would know. But I do agree with you that we need to incorporate it into the Premier's energy meeting. It's a definite, and I think then we'll be mainstreaming waste to energy then. But at the same time as well, we will then ensure also that all municipalities submit their plans for their waste to energy strategies, but at the same time also ensure that they budget for that for the next financial year. And I'd like to finish with that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Director. I think one of the things we must take into account is that why our landfill of health hazard. Waste is turning itself into energy. As simple as that. All that the waste is saying to you is that do something about me. And that's the point that we are raising where we are. Thank you very much. We're going to do this because there's going to, they told us late yesterday that there's going, that's why there was the West Rent, and that there's going to be a council meeting here. I'm going to ask SALGA to submit the presentation to us. The committee will go through it, and then we'll find a way of how best we can engage with your kind self, and we want to apologize there. And we're going to ask the IDC to do the same, to submit the presentation to us The committee will go through it and we will find a better way of how we're going to engage with you. And colleagues, I know that you prepare yourself and the chairperson disappoints you. And I want to apologize to your kind selves. And we're going to do that, take the last two presentations for not more than 15 minutes. From City Power. If they are here, are you ready? Are you here? Yeah. 15 minutes, will that be fine with you?
Thanks, Chair. Chair, our slides were incorporated to the COGTA report, and I think we showed the work that we did on phase 1 and the work that we'll be doing on phase 2. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. ESKOM? Is it the same answer?
Morning, Chair. Answer is slightly different. Yes, I think there was a report sheet this morning. But in that technical meeting, I think there's one or two aspects that I'd like to go through, which were not included in that pack.
And how long do you want?
5-10 minutes will be sufficient.
Okay, then IDC can read it itself. We'll take it as the last presentation. Can you do that so that we don't waste any time?
I will do that.
Do exactly that. Can we go to their presentation and you will guide us? Which slides are those? Technology people, sometimes you eat our time also. Sizwe, ukhulume nabo baba, babadla isikhathi sethu labantu. Can we? It's in your slide, ne? ESKOM, or is it in the departmental slides?
No, it's a separate submission that was sent.
Did you guys get it? Can you go quickly to it? Are we surviving? Chabu? Okay. About IT, I told you eating up on our time. And IT people, I know them to be quick. They just do things very quick. They are just slow when they want to create an impression that they are working. HOD. Are we ready?
Chair, we're not ready yet. Apologies. The presentation we received was a PDF. So on the format, Chair doesn't want to open, so we've converted it to
Can we do IDC whilst you are doing your stuff? Is the IDC presentation ready? We'll just take the IDC as the last one and then come back to you, and then SALGA will deal with them in that process I've outlined. IDC, are we ready? Is IDC ready?
The second one, they go to
15 minutes, please. IDC. Thank you. Would you survive in 15 minutes? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, MECs and honorable members. Thank you for inviting the IDC. We were given the ask that we should make a comment on the incineration as a technology for waste to energy. I'll just go through a few slides, starting with the energy crisis, just to remind us, and then the few technologies, waste to energy technologies. And my colleague has already elaborated on that, so maybe we'll go through that very quickly and answer the questions that were asked in the format that they were. That's evident. So what we want to remind us of is the fact that energy prices will continue rising. I'm sure you're all aware that ESKOM is always approaching ESA for even multi-year price determination. But also what's important is the energy security issue. So the energy security issue is defined in three aspects, that the energy must be reliable, it must be accessible, and it must be affordable. And that aspect needs to be unpacked when we talk about why we're doing what we're doing. That is just showing us that there is continuing to be a demand and supply deficit. There will continue to be. So even when we have this reprieve now that we have over 200 days plus no load shedding from ESKOM, we must accept the fact that the demand is been increasing even as the population increases, but the generation capacity hasn't increased to those levels. Okay, this is pictorially depicting that even in South Africa, we still have our last mile. The number would move between 90 to 95% electrification rates. So we don't have 100% electrification, meaning there's still some of our people, 5% or plus, that do not have access to electricity, that are using dirty fuels for lighting or for cooking. So the aspect and the need for us to provide the solution still remains with us. This just speaks to the SDGs. Of course, we also subscribe to those. SDG 7 says affordable energy for all. So I think even when we're discussing the issue of incinerators and the cost, maybe there's need for us to answer the question, are we providing energy solutions for everybody? You know, how do we achieve that? Of course, the SDGs speak to other issues. 13 is climate action. My colleague at the back did indicate that we can pivot the pitch other than just we want to provide energy through incineration, but we can speak to the issue that we are mitigating against GHG emissions as a climate action. And of course, we're all familiar with the issue around the energy transition. We're moving us from the fossil fuels to the renewables. But of course, that also has its issues. So the picture there, I don't know if many have seen it, is showing us all those wind farms. And of course, you can see the community there that has zero access whatsoever to that energy source. And that's where the unjustness of the transition comes in. The issue with, I think we may be familiar with the cautionary tale, I'll call it, of the Komati power station. That was one of the first power stations that were to be transitioned. That was transitioned. The challenges there, of course, cautioning us on how we transition and how just that transition should be. So going into the technologies. So basically, waste to energy technologies refer to the conversion of municipal solid waste or any other forms of waste into different forms of energy, typically electricity, heat, and fuels. I must hasten to say also that the IDC has invested in a waste to energy plant. We have invested in a 25 megawatt in Gondwana. Obviously, the feedstock there is biomass from SAPI. My colleague did indicate this. Obviously, these are reading notes. The various waste to energy technologies. So there's incineration, where you have a commingled waste without separation that you can heat. Of course, there's other ones: gasification, pyrolysis, anaerobic digestion, and the rest of them, depending on what it is you want to do. So we're focusing on the incineration. So basically, that would be a typical flow. Again, those are notes to read through. So it's typically the waste that should have gone to the landfill that you're now taking, redirecting to this plant, and the process is very clear. There's an issue around any specific requirement for a rail if you have an incineration plant, and well, it's not really mandatory that you should have it, but if there is, it helps a lot, because the other downside that you see is being in the city, there's obviously the issue around a lot of pollution. So you could mitigate that if you set up your incinerator plant close to a rail track or any disused that you can revive. And yes, of course, there are safety issues around incineration plants. So we listed a few. We're all familiar of various bylaws and acts and that are evident and applicable here in South Africa. The link there is indicating to us that as far back as 2009, we had started the conversation around utilization of these waste resources. So the policy framework was already being formulated, and this is 15 years later. So the concerns, there are various concerns around incineration. Some of them are, of course, the pollutants. And the chart there, the image there is just showing us there are 4 plants that were sampled in the UK using various types of incineration, and you could see the carbon intensity. That's how much carbon is emitted into the atmosphere per kilowatt hour. And funny enough, an average coal plant, we have a lot of coal-fired plants here, the emissions were much lower than a few other incinerators, so indicating, of course, there's that aspect that we need to take care of. But as technology has evolved, now most of these plants are very effective in terms of having filters to filter the pollutants. That image, I think we've discussed that already. Other than the landfill sites that can look as terrible as that, we also have maybe in our township and locations dump sites which are an eyesore. So the motivation to converting this waste to energy still stands with us. Of course, there was an issue around utilizing landfill gas for the landfill sites, but that doesn't stop us from utilizing the solid waste as well. That was 5 minutes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. You saved us some few minutes. On incineration, because I think that's one of the options that we should be looking at, particularly when you burn your waste and turn it into electricity so that it contributes towards the energy crisis plan as such. I was listening to you carefully. I thought you were going to say, no, this we're throwing out because of the environmental and emission issues. I was happy when you said there are technologies that mitigates that. And for me, that's what is very important. Because even the Chinese thing that I made a reference on, the factory is right in town. And there are no environmental issues. And you can't even see it, that they're doing incineration inside that particular factory. You only realize when you get there that, oh, they're burning waste. You see trucks coming in and out there, burning this thing and turn it into an energy. That's the point there. Because our problem is that we start with a problem. No, this thing is going to get to have environmental issues, and then we throw it aside. We go somewhere else. And in that sense, we'll not be able to find any solution to our problems as such. I had some the other time, and I was impressed with his comment on fossils and the new technology. I think we're going towards the right direction, because this thing that says do away with fossils, and then I know I couldn't. So it's fine. I just wanted to make that comment. I don't know what that laugh is like. I don't agree with you or what. We agree. Yeah. Thank you very much. So let's do that. We will now. I don't know, MEC, you wanted to say something? You don't want to ask them money.
We'll engage them for that.
Okay. Yeah, MEC just want money from you with your beautiful presentation. She's actually saying that's a solution, but it must have rands and cents attached. Okay. Thank you very much. We done. Can we go back to ESKOM? I'm sure now this. Thank you. Let's go there. Take us through.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can we go to the next slide? I'm going to quickly go through a couple of slides. I think our biggest issue as being shared council meeting is around security of our infrastructure. So what we have in front of us is just a profile in terms of the province. We have just under 1 million customers supplied from 600 substations with customer network centers around 40. There is a length of line that we have 23,000 in the high voltage space and 233,000 kilometers in the MV space. We're also doing electrification, obviously funded by DMRE. We've got a year-end target of 2,124. I think we're very close to reaching universal access there. Currently, we're sitting just over or around 50% with 6 months gone in the financial year. And in terms of ESKOM, there's about 2,500 staff members servicing those million customers. Next slide. This one is basically then captures what is happening from an ESKOM perspective. And I think the top right graph is a graph we need to be happy about. It shows the growth in terms of year on year between last year, October, and October this year. And you'll see that all the categories we're seeing growth. And one of the main reasons is that we don't have any load shedding. So I think the security of supply in terms of that is really helping the province to grow. But then diagonally to the left at the bottom, we then have a challenge in that we're seeing a growth in terms of people not paying for that service. The number is almost half of our total customer base, 467,000 of people using electricity but not paying for it. And obviously that is not sustainable. Bottom left, there is also a table there. You will see that in total we've got about 31,000 transformers. 4,000 have failed. We've replaced 3,800. But then there's also another concern. You've got 893 that are repeat failures. So we've replaced that transformer more than once. And the only reason we do that is because people are not paying for the service. All right, next slide. This is just a list of some of the challenges that we're seeing. A top one is around the KRN, TID, or the change into the new meters in the new security. I think we're starting to see a panic now that we're approaching November 24th. And we've really flooded the socials and all the media out there. Our people must not come to the ESKOM offices. I think we've provided all the means for them to help themselves to make sure that their meters are converted to the new KRN. I've spoken about theft and vandalism. I'll show some pictures in the next slides. This is becoming a real problem. Just go back to the slide. I think when we had load shedding, one slide back, please. When we had load shedding, people were taking an opportunity of the power when it's off and doing the illegal connections. But now it's becoming worse. Because the power doesn't go off, then they resort to cutting poles and really butchering the infrastructure. Then the last one is around, I think, the growth in the municipal debt, which is the next table. If we can go to that one. So ESKOM as a total, We're currently sitting with a growth in debt of around 90 billion. If we look at our province, that growth since the start of the financial year, which in our books is April, we're looking at a growth of just under 10 billion. And I think the concern is around the metros. We didn't expect the metros to see those kind of numbers. But then I think there's challenges on both sides in terms of collection and people not paying for the service. But this is really a strain in the business, and we are really appealing to get assistance to make sure that this doesn't grow. Otherwise, we won't be able to deliver the electrons. Next slide. So this is what I was talking about. So during load shedding, people follow the schedule, and during the 4 hours or 6 hours do their connections. Now that the power doesn't go off, they resort to cutting the poles. That creates a fault, and then the supply goes off. On the left, you've got towers where they remove the cross members. Those are HV lines, 132 and above. And you cut and destroy one of those, you destroy a whole city. And it takes days to restore that. You can imagine if you don't have any ring in terms of redundancy, then the whole area is off. The top one, the wires from illegals. Next slide. This is just additional, pictures of the infrastructure that's been destroyed, explosions. I always ask myself, the people doing illegal connections, wonder if you have your children walking past some of those transformers and it blows up, like the one at the bottom left, creating a hole. It's really, really a safety hazard to the public as well. Next slide. Here, Chairperson, I think this is also something we need to ramp up as a province. So there's money made available for free basic electricity. And in terms of our people collecting on that free basic electricity is very low. This should be 100% without fail. Obviously, then some people, if they don't do the collection, they resort to other means then of getting electricity. Last slide is around some of the technologies that we're rolling out just to stimulate the green market in the province. These are chargers that we are rolling out. We should be launching some soon, around December and January. We've approached a number of malls. We're approaching some of the residential complexes and also some of the garages just to drive the EV space. The chargers. Is that a sign I must stop? Okay. So we are really going on a massive drive to roll this out. Person, I'll stop there. That is our presentation from ESKOM. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ntate Ngobeni, do you have any comment you want to make?
No, Chair. Just that the illegalities that is happening in our country, it's depressing. I mean, to really get to to listen to the colleagues and their frustration with the theft and vandalism problem. And one, sit and wonder whether there is really any plan, not from them in particular, but from the law enforcement agencies that we have in our country to assist ESKOM to deal with this. And not only ESKOM, by the way, I mean, Randwater has the same problem. City Power will tell you they have the same problem. Johannesburg Road Agency will tell you they've got the same problem. So at what point are we really going to see a solution, or at least intervention from the law enforcement agencies on these matters? It's really depressing. But also on the issue of the municipal debt, Chair, we noted the intergovernmental interventions that were happening in Tshwane and also in Johannesburg, and the MEC was, part of the team that was with the minister and to deal with this debt. I saw Johannesburg back and forth, memos going around between ESKOM and Johannesburg City Power. I just want to get an indication whether, our matter has been resolved, and can we get comfort that these issues are being dealt with, because really we can't have a metro saying to ESKOM that you are overbilling us and you are not resolving this overbilling. Instead, we are seeing you now sending out memos and threatening to switch us off. So can we get just comfort on maybe from the MEC as well that these matters are being attended to? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think from my side, one of the things that I would request you to do on the KRA matters, to accelerate that with our communities. There are certain communities, particularly in the Sidibeng area, that are saying they are ready, but ESKOM is not forthcoming, and communities want more clarity around those issues. Yeah, I think the rest of the stuff Ntatungumeni would have covered me on those. Can I just ask MEC?
Nothing much. I think I made comments on these matters in the earlier discussion. But I think we do have an IGR committee on energy, on water, on safety and bringing law enforcement. So I think what I can say to you is that all these matters get attended to there. But I think there's an improvement and tying up that we need to do with ESKOM, and I think it's a matter we will look into. There was a problem in Mfuleni where the account was attached, and we worked as three spheres of government to attend to that issue. So I think those principles of cooperative governance, working together, is the best way to go. There's nothing best as that. And I think that's why we set up these IGR structures, precisely to facilitate resolution of issues. I must say, we as you would have seen with the minister on water matters in Joburg, that process is working very well with Rent Water. And just last night we had a very good meeting. So I think we need to tie up our energy space and just make sure that some of these matters that could be resolved in a proper IGR process, we deal with them there. And that's the assurance I'd like to give you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. You want to pick up some comments, ESKOM?
Thank you, Chair. So the issue of Sedibeng, we will look into it. I think we've got quite a lot of collateral and information that we can share, whether it's on WhatsApp groups or on X, Twitter, Facebook. I'll ask my colleague Amanda to just share that. Around COJ or City Power, we had a meeting yesterday and things are progressing. But unfortunately, one of the things we are embargoed to speak about what's happening in there. But we have a neutral body, Sanedi,
You're just helping us to make sure we resolve that issue. As we speak, the colleagues are out in the field, making sure that whatever was a dispute is being corrected. But more than that, there's not much I can share at this stage. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, MEC. Do you want to say something? Okay, thank you. Thank you, colleagues. I know that Caesar would say at this point, adjourn and we proceed. No, I'm not going to do that because I looked at the issues. They are not serious issues. We'll then move to the next item, which is NCOP bills. We don't have any resolution. What do you want to say? I see some statement, but I want you to tell me what you want to say. Or who wants to talk to it?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, I think the department owes us a lot of responses to recommendation, and they're laughing at me. The Department of COGTA, Chair. And I don't know how many times have I been reminding and reminding. So please, HOD and colleagues, we need to finalize on the matters. The committee needs to adopt the report. So please, if we can have the responses to resolutions of 3 reports. The budget report for 2024-25, first quarterly 2024-25, and fourth quarterly 2023-24. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. We're not going to engage on that. That's where the committee is insofar as these issues are. Can we please have those outstanding resolutions from yourselves, a response from resolutions from yourselves, MEC? Petitions, we have none. Correspondence, we have none. And the date of the next meeting is Thursday, the 21st of November, 2024. And I want to thank everyone who attended this particular meeting, particularly those who made presentations and contributions to the meeting, and extend that apology to our colleagues, SALGA again, that it was just on the interest of time, trying to manage our matters. Thanks the two MECs. We know that you have a busy schedule, but thanks for being with us in this particular meeting. It does help going forward. As I said, the committee just felt that the issue of energy crisis is a matter that should not fall through cracks, because somebody might say, we don't have load shedding anymore, and then things fall through cracks, and one day we wake up, we are in trouble. So we've got to ensure that we sustain the moment and we come up with a resolution that would help us to solve the situation. On those basis, I want to say that, in fact, before I do that, MEC, I once had a vision, and that vision was, why don't you create a region of waste, or you call it a city of waste, and you target either the West Rand or the City Bank, so, and the entire province takes their waste there, and we turn it into waste to energy. Just think about. On those basis, the meeting stand adjourned. Thank you. I don't know, do you have anything called lunch? Yes. Or I'm told there's lunch outside. Thank you.